My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes.
It is essential that our team learns to work with our new recruit, not against him.
I'm a geek, walking down the street.
Check the computer, the mainframe computer.
I access the mainframe.
At the end of this day, one shall stand, one shall fall. Time to find out.
Welcome to Basically a Geek Show. Here are your hosts, Mike and Jack.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 24 of Basically a Geek Show.
We are your overlords, or something like that.
Before we jump into things, let's address some listener feedback from the last few shows.
Okay, we can do that.
And kind of on that feedback note, before we get into that, Jack, you have an account now at the sportslogos.net message board where we sort of run our main thread out of.
I do. I decided that we needed to geek up the Jock Club a bit, so I have graced them with my benevolent presence. Mm-hmm. You're all welcome. Or something along those lines. Either you're welcome or I'm sorry. Whichever applies. We'll find out.
But yeah, you are Fear and Loathing on the boards.
Yes. So any listeners who wish to contact me directly via those forums can simply shoot me a PM or just holler, "Hey, asshole," in the Bass thread, and I will reply accordingly.
Indeed. So on that note, let's get to some listener feedback via the boards. First post comes from a gentleman, longtime listener, one of our more well-spoken and intelligent listeners, and I feel really bad because I can never pronounce his username. I know the last part is Pinoche, but it's Kralache Pinoche, or Kralache, yeah, Kralache Pinoche. That's as good as I can. That's as good a job as I can do, man. I really do apologize for that.
And it's actually Pinochet.
Pinochet.
So you're just fucking failing in every way possible.
Yes, I am. Anyway, he wants to congratulate Jack on his defense of Speed Racer. So you seem to have at least the grudging respect of those who know that you're wrong.
See, another innocent movie gotten off, giggity, thanks to yours truly.
See, you say that, but I don't.
I'm winning hearts and minds. I'm on a mission to. I will single-handedly fix the internet.
I don't think you've actually convinced anyone, though. That's the thing. Everyone just.
You know what? Whatever you have to say to help yourself sleep at night in your bed of lies. It's whatever, man.
But he does mention that Jurassic Park, in his opinion, was a better blend of CGI and practical effects.
I won't deny that, but that was also kind of what worked better. I mean, it was a lot easier to kind of to do dinosaurs and practical effects than it is for, aerobatic fucking acrobatic hunks of metal flipping in the air while doing things and stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, that lent itself a lot more naturally to that really nice blend of CGI and practical effects, which I agree with them. I mean, Jurassic Park did a great job of doing that. I think in this case, though, it's a little bit of kind of apples and oranges. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying Speed Racer couldn't have used a few more practical effects, maybe for some things, I don't know. I just merely said that what they did, it worked really well with making the movie memorable and enjoyable with, really good action scenes. I like the very vibrant colors and everything. Whereas with Jurassic Park, a completely different type of movie altogether. It aimed to be more sophisticated. It was going kind of, I guess, a little bit for a different audience, or at least more of a crossover audience. meaning from not just, kids and people who were fond of the original anime, with Speed Racer, whereas with Jurassic Park, you're kind of going for a little bit of everybody. That was going to be, it was aiming to be a summer blockbuster, and God, was it. And dinosaurs have been done in practical effects for decades. So, and Jurassic Park certainly set a new bar for that. So, I'll give them that. I'll just simply kind of put the caveat on there that Jurassic Park was trying to be something different, and it did that just as well in its own right as Speed Racer did.
I will say that Speed Racer has something Jurassic Park doesn't have, and that is that Speed Racer was not made by an animal-killing monster who shot a helpless Triceratops.
Okay, that requires some explanation for the listeners.
I think we've already covered it on Bass, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we already talked about it on Bass.
Well, in case there's some who don't listen to both shows, there was this picture of Steven Spielberg in front of the mock-up of the sick Triceratops from Jurassic Park, and it was just a model. It was all one of those practical effects, and he's just kind of like hunched over in front of it, like, yeah, look at this. And there's this long post, presumably from Facebook.
Yeah, it's Facebook.
Yeah, calling Steven Spielberg basically a monster, an animal-killing monster, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I like to think that person was just kind of being a troll.
As Zach said on Bass, I mean, they'd almost have to be, right? Like, there's no way. There's no way that he was serious, right?
Well, I mean, on one hand, I like to think that, but on the other hand, let's not ever underestimate the stupidity of the internet. I like the exchange where someone goes, that's Steven Spielberg, director of Jurassic Park, and someone else says, I don't care who he is, he's an animal killer. Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
All right, moving on in the mailbag, as it were. NYK33, other longtime listener, says that he has to disagree with Jack on WWE not being bigger than professional wrestling, since that promotion has pretty much been synonymous with pro wrestling, much to the chagrin of fans of other promotions since 2001, when both WCW and ECW went under. Almost no one in the mainstream has ever heard of TNA, and that's on Spike TV, and let's not even get into how obscure ROH is.
Well, okay, now I'll give that opinion its due credit, because yes, WWE right now is synonymous with professional wrestling. It is, and anything else is obscure and trivialized and striving to get some recognition in life in the massive shadow of WWE. But why is that? It's because WWE exists. There's not that need there. Mm-hmm. If WWE were to cease to exist, there would be that need. And, capitalism would take care of the rest. You would see, new outfits starting, current outfits that are currently very small, growing, if they can afford to do so, that is. And so it's kind of like, there's a certain symbiosis there. Yes, WWE is professional wrestling, but if WWE did not exist, well, professional wrestling fans aren't going to go away. Mm-hmm. They're going to want to go somewhere, and they will.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's pretty much what I'm saying with that.
Fair enough. Wildwing64, one of our listeners from the UK, says, at first I found Pacific Rim's neural drift method of piloting robots to be a bit too gimmicky, like you said on the show. Most pilots and robot shows just jump into the cockpit and get on with it. Then again, there is some precedence for this method in some super robot anime. The pilot stands up in the cockpit using his own fighting moves and sheer hot-bloodedness to pilot the robot. I like
to think of hot-bloodedness as like this massive hate boner, and there's like, destroy! Anyways, go on.
What they did with Pacific Rim feels like a more realistic in terms of giant fictional robots, take on that in a way, but it felt to me more like its main purpose was to serve as a plot device, affecting characters in different ways, letting us look into the backstory of one, and in the end, revealing the way of getting rid of the kaiju. But I guess if you're not following the story and are just there for giant punching robot monsters, none of that really matters.
I really don't have too much to say about that, except that who was there for a reason other than to see giant monsters and robots fight. I mean, who goes to movies like Pacific Rim for the plot? Who goes to movies like Pacific Rim, slasher flicks, things like that? Who goes to these movies that are obviously very niche and fill a very defined purpose? Who goes to these for the plot? I don't think there's really a whole lot of people. And I mean, there is another side of that coin of, I mean, a bit of immersion in the fiction, in the world in which the movie takes place does help. And The Drift, helped, I guess, provide some of that. But I think it does its job without being in the foreground. It does its job just being there in the background, something that was very briefly explained. Okay, yeah, I get that. And then let's not dwell on it. We know it's there. We know it's the thing they do. And let's get on with the beating up of the giant things in the fucking cities and such. So in that sense, I don't think anyone really goes to these kind of movies for the plot. I know I sure don't. But then again, I may be just a simple-minded schlub. Well, I am. But I know I'm not alone in that fact. The Drift, it achieved what it needed to achieve in the first movie. I do not feel that it needs to be expanded on, and I think if it is expanded upon, it will be to the detriment of the next movie because it will become too plot heavy and not give people what they're really wanting, which is what they've seen in the first, which is basically rock'em sock'em kaiju and robots.
If we're going to be completely honest, if we're going by what the audience said, not very many people want to see Pacific Rim 2 anyway.
Well, they can go fuck themselves. Those people are idiots.
I'm just looking at box office returns. I'm being impartial. I'm not saying anything one way or another.
I'm being impartial too. They're fucking idiots.
Okay. All right.
And I will go to their homes and we will have discussions about things. I'll go Jay and Silent Bob on this shit. I totally fucking will. Yes. Fucking yes.
Is there a list of people who didn't pay to see Pacific Rim?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's being worked on by top men.
Okay.
Top men, sir.
Okay. Now Charles, a listener who's been listening, loyal podcast listener since the days of the logo cast way back when. Loyal Bass listener, and even a Bags listener here and there. Now he's addressing something we talked about on Bass because Greg had some questions for me about our WWE discussion.
Okay.
That we filled out the first couple of minutes on our last Bass episode with. And so Charles is addressing that conversation, but I figured I'd bring it up here since we were the ones who originally brought up the whole wrestling thing. And I figure I'll give you a chance to respond to it, Jack, because I know that myself and Greg probably will on the next episode of Bass. Right. And Charles says, WWE isn't going belly up at all. The XFL didn't kill WWE, neither will the network. So I know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to save it until after you say what you're going to say.
Well, here's my thing on this, and this is largely an unknown because we don't know what WWE is going to do. I mean, if WWE, if Vincey McManypuss there, if old Vincey gets smart and he cuts his losses and just walks the fuck away like he should, then no, it's not going to kill WWE. It'll just be this big fucking embarrassment. It'll be like a fart. It was there, it was mildly unpleasant, and soon after everyone forgot about it.
Which is pretty much every one of Vince McMahon's other business ventures, the World Bodybuilding Federation, the XFL. Vince is not alone. Vince has a history of making these big grandiose plans and then having it just sort of fall flat, and then he has to end it and then be embarrassed.
Right. But also now take a look at this though. The XFL, as well as his, what was it, the World Bodybuilding League or whatever the fuck that was?
World Bodybuilding Federation. Where he tried to introduce pro wrestling style like storylines into bodybuilding, and it was just weird.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things that probably only he wanted to see for reasons that would require another show all on its own to fucking delve into.
We need at least three. We need at least three Harvard-trained psychiatrists to, pry open Vince McMahon's mind and
and rattle it around a bit.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, you're looking at the WBF, the XFL, and these are not part of the core enterprise. These are side endeavors. These are colonial endeavors of a sort. Just kind of side things that really weren't the bread and butter of the WWE. Now this shit here, shit's getting real, yo. I mean, this is fucking with their wrestling. This is their bread and butter. This is the WWE. This is fucking with their pay-per-view dollars. This is fucking with, their contracts with their cable and satellite providers.
Yeah.
And this is, it's more than just the monetary loss too. We're not talking just numbers here. We're talking about the fact that Vince McMahon keeps just vomiting these ridiculous projections. Oh, well, we'll get 2 million subscribers when all the data indicates that, there's not that many to be had. Mm-hmm. There's not. He's dipped into his pool. He's got, a very good saturation of the people who would be likely to subscribe. He did good in that respect, but that's probably about all he's going to fucking get. Mm-hmm. And then he says, 1 million, 2 million. It's not just the monetary loss here. It's the fact that he keeps dicking around with his investors. And failure in this particular case doesn't necessarily would even mean that the WWE would collapse. It could mean that he gets deposed as, from his position in the company. He's already been asked to step down. So, you could see greater turmoil, which could affect the promotion in other ways. Now, then just going from the sheer monetary aspect of this thing, I don't know how much WWE is worth as a company, but I don't think they are large enough to be able to sustain these kinds of losses on a infinite timetable. This is simply not tenable.
No, and they're not. Just a quick interjection there. Wrestling fans are kind of blinded by this because when you think in terms of wrestling, the WWE is huge. WWF, WWE, it's always been this huge thing. And in terms of a wrestling promotion, it is certainly enormous. But in terms of an entertainment company, it's actually not, because the fact of the matter is that the WWE is what in entertainment lingo is called an independent provider. That is to say that they make they film, they edit, they put together their own content, and then they sell that content to a network.
Right.
Thing is that the independent provider is a dying breed in the entertainment world. The entertainment world is becoming more and more consolidated. You're seeing smaller companies, smaller studios being bought up by larger studios. Now, studios make shows. Now studios make shows themselves for themselves, or they make shows for other studios. If you look at actually the companies involved in producing a lot of mass entertainment today that you find on television, very few of it is made by an independent provider. And so in that respect, the WWE themselves like to say, they're a global entertainment phenomenon, and in many ways they are. And yes, they're a huge wrestling promotion, but in the wider world of entertainment, which is, again, ultimately where they're going to have to sink and swim, at least if they insist on remaining a privately sold company, they're actually not that large.
Right. Yeah, they're a huge fish in their pond, and some would say they're the only fish in their pond, but their pond is not all there is. And if, they're basically trying to run with the big boys in many ways, and it's not working. Their current approach is not. Not that they're incapable of it, they are, but currently what they're doing is not.
Well, like what I said on the opening of basically a sports show, our last episode of basically a sports show where Greg wanted me to expand on this discussion. I said then that when the TV deal, when their TV deal with NBC Universal came up, Vince McMahon was telling shareholders that he was going to try to get NBA or NFL money when the contract was renewed. He thought he was as valuable to NBC as a major professional sports league.
And at that point, you're just huffing glue.
Well, at that point, yeah, exactly. You're just huffing glue. And like I said on Bass, that's part of the reason they're in this mess, because Vince McMahon keeps making these grandiose announcements. And then when reality sets in and reality doesn't quite measure up to the grandiose announcements, the stock plummets. And again, I'm going to repeat this point. Vince McMahon is using the methods that work in professional wrestling, that is being grandiose and hyping something up to be larger than it is. That works when you're trying to sell tickets to a wrestling show. It doesn't work when you're dealing with Wall Street investors, when you're dealing with large amounts of other people's money. That doesn't work when you say you're going to get 2 million subscribers for your network, and then you only end up with 700,000 because that's all there ever really were anyway.
Right, and their current marketing technique saying, 90% satisfaction rate, that's all well and good, but satisfaction rate means nothing if you're not interested in the product.
Yep.
And that's where they're at. That's where they're going. They're not going, I don't think they're going to get past that because, again, they've saturated their market. They've dipped into their pool. They've got what they can get, and that's what they're going to get.
Exactly. And, here's the thing. There's only around between 500,000 and 700,000 people who realistically are going to buy into the network. So as far as I see it, WWE has two choices. Either they can find a way to make it profitable around 500 to 700,000 subscribers, which would probably mean limiting what's available by cutting down on server costs as well as raising the price, which probably won't sit well with the fan base.
Right.
Or just dump it. Because, look, guys, yeah, they do get enough from their TV money to keep them afloat, to sustain these losses short term. But look, best case scenario for this year, they lose $40 million. That's best case scenario. The WWE has a net loss of $40 million in a year. And that is on top of Vince McMahon personally losing $350 million off the stock drop. So when you're looking for the foreseeable future of a best case scenario of losses around $40 million, considering that WCW went out of business a year after losing a little over $60 million in 1 year, I don't think we're out of line to play the hypothetical WWE might be going out of business game when these numbers are put into context.
Yeah, and I mean, I do not think WWE is going to go out of business because of this, but I think they need to really watch themselves. Yeah. And I think, at this point, like you're saying, even though at least I don't think either of us really think WWE is going to go out of business, but when we start talking these kinds of numbers, it becomes a viable conversation to have.
Indeed.
And there's another thing that the WWE could do hypothetically with this network. It would be stupid, which is why I think they might do it. Not cut content, add original content to it.
They already do that kind of. There was Legends House, which was basically the real world with retired wrestlers.
Right, and that's why if they were to redouble their efforts and sink a lot of more money into making original content for the network, they might eke out a few more subscribers. But the content is going to be ass.
That's what I like WWE used to run this thing like, the top viewed shows on the network this week are, and Legends House always ranks near the top of the list, and I don't understand why, because god damn it, that premise did not look entertaining. Now, I've never seen Legends House, but I have actually read recaps of the show. And yeah, again, I'm sorry, it looks terrible. So,
well, I mean, it's a fucking reality show. Of course it's terrible.
It's a reality show with old, retired professional wrestlers. It just seems bad.
And another thing I could see them doing, this would be kind of funny, taking their, WWE productions, like, the guys that make the movies and shit, and making, WWE Network original movies that would make Sharknado look like fucking Citizen Kane.
God.
I could just see this happening.
WWE.
And I would subscribe for that shit. I would, because I'd be like, God damn it, I gotta see this fuckwittery.
WWE Network original movies would be, they might be able to dethrone sci-fi original movies.
I think they could. I really think they could if they work hard and believe in their own stupidity, which they seem to be doing so far. They could. It would be hilarious.
And Sci-Fi is the channel that brought us the true classic. I think, what was it, Shock Arachnid? Or
Arachnoquake. Yes.
Arachnoquake,
yes. I am, however, eagerly anticipating Sharknado 2. That's the thing.
Yes.
I loved the first one. It was fucking great. But.
Yeah, and just one more question. Mr. Negative 15, another longtime listener, says, aren't all these numbers only focused on the U.S.? Because I'm sure they'll hit the million when they open up the network to international audiences later this year. And yes, there will be a bump in the subscriber numbers once they make the WWE Network available internationally. Problem is, all of these projections are all based on U.S. numbers. When they say they need 1 million, when they at launch, when they said they needed 1 million to break even, they meant 1 million American subscribers. So and now they're saying they need 2 million. When they say they need 2 million, they mean 2 million American subscribers. So even if they hit the 1 million subscriber mark when it goes international, they're still going to be behind the ball. They're still going to be in the red. Yeah,
they would, for that to work, and I'm not saying that it couldn't, but for that to work, they would have to have such a disproportionate number of international servers that it not only covers up the extra cost of going international, because even though their subscribers will go up, their costs will go up proportionately. It would have to cover that plus the deficit that they're running with their U.S. operation. And I don't see that happening. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't see it happening.
Indeed.
I mean, I know Britain would help because evidently WWE is fucking huge over there. But
Britain, Canada, Canada's got a lot of wrestling fans. In fact, I'm actually kind of shocked that Canada wasn't included in the initial launch because, some Canadian numbers would probably have helped their overall initial launch. But we'll see how this pans out. Again, none of us are saying, the WWE will go out of business, but it is a legitimate conversation to be having when we look at these financial numbers that are that relate to their core business. So that's probably all we're going to say about the WWE Network between this show, this opening, our last bags, and last episode of Bass. I think we've kind of beat the network into the ground. We'll probably have a bit more in a week or two when their second quarter reports come out for 2014. When that happens and we see where the subscriber numbers are at, we'll come back to it. But, this is just a little bit of early warning. Unless they come back and say that they've magically hit 2 million subscribers, it's not going to matter, because even if they hit 1 million by the end of this month, and they're not gonna, but if they do, they're still gonna lose 40 to 50 million a year, so let's not get our hopes up. I sadly do not predict good things for the WWE Network. Great idea. I just don't think everything was lined up for it to work, at least not this go around. But moving on, speaking of quarterly reports and finances and that sort of thing.
Oh, dear God.
Hasbro, our benevolent overlords when it comes to Transformers, they announced their second quarter earnings. And we want to go over that. Not so much in detail when it comes to Transformers and the finances involved in those. Although, as we have covered, Age of Extinction toy line sales are kind of down. But, we've already harped on that. That's not what we're talking about here. If you look at the report from the second quarter conference call for Hasbro, it's all your standard stuff. Graphs and numbers and finances and percentages.
And then they chill your soul to the core.
Now, Hasbro has been experimenting with 3D printing technology. They've already announced, at least in the production of Transformers toys, and I'd imagine the production of other toys as well, their in-house designers and engineers have 3D printers on hand so that they can sort of mock prototypes up. And this is sort of the next step. At first you could only really go off of a drawing. Then it was all computer models. Now you can easily and relatively cheaply produce actual 3D copies of prototyped figures, joints, even individual pieces of a toy. It's all very technical, but Hasbro's really been embracing the 3D technology aspect and what it can do in the toy production business. And then it seems in this conference call, that whole business plan, that whole looking to the future mentality, it went horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying this is currently something that they will be selling. As in, you can, I guess you'll go on a website and you can get 3D printings of My Little Pony fan art. Now, I'm going to give them a bit of credit that may not be deserved. We'll see. I'm going to take it for granted that there are going to be controls in place on what you can get printed. But my God, man, the potential ramifications of this are just bone-chilling.
Anyone who's familiar with the My Little Pony, adult fan base, and we've addressed them. We have addressed them in a previous show. But anyone familiar with the My Little Pony adult fan base can sort of see the potential downside here. You are going to allow 3D printing of My Little Pony fan art. Fan art, which, is not burdened by official approval, that anyone can just draw whatever they want. And then they're gonna make 3D versions of it. There's gonna be so much 3D pony porn.
Yeah.
So much pony porn existing in 3 dimensions.
Which is 1 dimension more than what it had been previously.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there for the math challenged like myself. I did do some research on that. That actually is 1 dimension extra. That's, oh my God. I don't when I was reading the earnings call report, whatever, I'm like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. I was just skimming it because I'm really not interested in those kinds of things, really. And then I seen that and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck are they thinking?
Now, either they're well aware of what's out there and they already have controls in place to sort of regulate this sort of thing, or they are being hopelessly naive and optimistic, and when the requests start pouring in, they are just gonna be shocked.
And, yeah. I don't think they are going to be shocked.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see how long the service is actually up and running before they say, pool's closed!
Yeah, this is a pool that should not be opened, really. I mean, I get what they're going for with it. I'd rather they use Transformers as a test market for this because the TF fan base is substantially less creepy for the most part. There are some fringe elements, yes, but it's not like the big thing like it is with the MLP shit.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a much more sane choice to do a test run of this on, but I guess they just want to see the fucking world burn. I don't know. This is, oh God. Oh dear God.
Hasbro, you opened up Pandora's box. So.
Literally.
Yeah. Oh, God. I mean, again, I appreciate the looking to the future aspect here. 3D printing is going to as the technology becomes more refined and it becomes more readily available, it's going to impact the toy industry. And I, for one, am excited, at places it could potentially go. If you buy a toy and it has, like, a busted joint, for example, instead of going out and buying, another one, you could, theoretically, if you had a 3D printer, get Hasbro to send you the specs to print up your own one, or they'll print it up for you and send it to them. Either way, 3D printing in the toy industry, there's a lot of potential there, and I, for one, am excited to see what it can do. But
the pony fans are excited too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet they're excited.
I don't know how
excited.
I don't know if this is the best idea because, God, the fan base.
Pony vagina.
So many pony vaginas. So many pony vaginas existing in 3 dimensions. Like, God.
Well, civilization, we had a good run.
Pony porn. Well,
we put a man on the moon. We split the atom. And now we're here. So.
Yeah, when we
good luck, everyone.
When there's a service in place to create 3D copies of pony porn, then, I think it's a clear sign that this is why Rome fell. It's a clear sign that this is society degrading.
And the thing is, okay, 3D printers, they're not cheap, but they're not outside the realm of individual purchase. They're and
the quality of the printers that become more available, that become more affordable, is only going to go up as time goes on.
Right.
They will become more commonplace as
just like everything else has. Yeah, exactly. So let's assume the better. Let's assume here that Hasbro and their allies here, ShapeWays, I believe is the name of the company. Mm-hmm. Let's say, they have a strict no pony prawn policy. Mm-hmm. Bravo, gents, bravo. But that's the box is open. So someone's going to look at this, if they haven't already, and be like, well, shit, I got a 3D printer. I dropped $4,000 for one. Mm-hmm. And, that's, all it's going to take at that point is simply knowing the site to go to, knowing the people to contact. Now, what do Mike and I care that people are doing this? What do we care if it's in their own home and whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's kind of disgusting. I mean, at a basic fundamental level, it's almost like asking, well, what do you care if someone essentially fucks an animal? And on another thing, they don't keep it in their home, which, that was addressed in our earlier pony brony rant, whatever, and we're not going to beat on that much anymore. I'm just going to recap it very briefly and just say they really don't. It kind of permeates. It seeps out. You don't have to go out and seek this shit to find it. It comes to you. And that was always kind of mine and Mike's issue with it, that it comes to you if you're on the fucking internet. And if it was just a thing of being inside your own home, yeah, we'd still have a few jabs at it, poking fun at it, because it's just nasty. Because it's basically simulated animal sex. I mean, let's boil this down to what it really is here. Mm-hmm. Simulated animal sex. It doesn't matter that the animals are cartoons or not. It's still, I mean, I guess since they're sentient, I guess that takes some of the creepiness out of it. But it's still based on a children's cartoon, and they're still very animal-like in appearance. I mean,
little girl's cartoon.
Right. I mean, we're not talking boning a Draenor bitch here. Draenor bitches. We're not talking about that, who are, humanoid, sentient, more adult-oriented in the sense that, World of Warcraft has a much more mature age-wise fan base. In quotations, mind you. I'm not elevating the WoW community to any kind of a pedestal here. But that's kind of our beef with it. I mean, it's a little girl's show that's being really stretched in ways that it should not be, and that's kind of sick.
Now, the possibility, it's not long before we get, pony sex dolls, pony blow-up dolls.
Yeah, and
that you can make in your own home.
Yeah, and you're going to see all kinds of, as Crack.com has pointed out to us many times, that was the first thing, most people have done with 3D printers is commence making themselves some sex toys. So I'm sure things like this already exist, but it's, the proliferation of it is the disturbing thing here, not just its existence, it's the proliferation of it, which will only become more prevalent in the coming years, as Mike said, when this technology becomes more affordable. Someone at some point will decide to make themselves the Henry Ford of pony vaginas. And, at that point, I think I might just fucking check out and move to fucking Alaska. Which will shelter me for maybe 5 years or so until I come outside and see a fucking bear humping one.
Oh, yeah. Again, guys, kids cartoon. It's one thing to, enjoy it, but
it's another to enjoy it. And let me reiterate, Mike and I have no misconceptions about the perversion level in other franchises, other cartoons. We know this shit exists for every cartoon under the sun. We know that. We're not denying that. What we're saying is with other franchises, Transformers, for example, World of Warcraft, for example, though yes, there is the perverted art out there. It's nowhere near, proportionally, it's much less of the overall fan base as it is in this case. I mean, here, you can, there's just say proportionally, it's a lot more with this. And again, it's the one step removed from bestiality aspect that's really off-putting on this. And that's kind of where we're coming from with it.
Indeed. So Hasbro, I really hope you guys know what you're doing.
Which, maybe Ultron is right. Maybe the biggest threat to humanity is humanity. This is kind of an example of it.
Let's talk about that for a moment. Moving on, actually, to Ultron. Age of Ultron, we've got two pieces of news that have been released. The synopsis to the movie, the very brief synopsis, and then the picture of live-action Ultron himself. So, I'm gonna start with the visual. Jack, what do you think of live-action Voltron? Ultron, not Voltron.
Generic as fuck. I mean, okay. Well, now, hold on. Okay. I'm getting to that. I knew you were going to say this. That's why I'm like, no, hold the fuck on. I get it that it's the comic version made 3D for a movie. I get that. I really do. It looks pretty much exactly like the artwork. I just don't like the design, period. Even the comic book art. I think that looks generic. And since this is a direct translation of that, a very faithful one, so those who like that design will be all like, yee! Because it seems to be pretty faithful. But it looks generic as fuck as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you're not in... Yeah, exactly. This is a very faithful adaptation of Ultron's character design from the comics. So if you're a fan of that character design, you're going to be in high heaven here. Very faithful. If you don't like it, there's nothing much here that's going to change your mind. I do agree that it does seem very generic. There is a generic quality to Ultron's general design. And I wouldn't even necessarily have, feel the need to point that out here, except for, let's move on to the next part.
Yeah, because that's not the only thing that's generic.
The synopsis. So the general synopsis has been leaked for Age of Ultron, And I'm going to read it for a second, if I can just pull it up. I had it open. Why did I close it? Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
And again, spoilers, but whatever. I'm sure all of this will be made very clear.
In this case, even if you don't like spoilers, just listen to this. We're doing you a favor.
Yeah, honestly, there's nothing to really spoil. Okay, so here's the synopsis. Ultron is a creation of Stark's, who was created to deal with matters that the Avengers can't. Ultron was in control of the Legion of Suits we saw at the end of Iron Man 3, until Ultron decided that the greatest threat to humanity is humanity itself. So, what we have here is a generic artificial intelligence is created to serve mankind, goes insane, and decides to wipe out humanity plot. This is the plot to every single artificial intelligence story in the history of fiction.
Yeah.
This strikes me as incredibly uninspired. And yes, I know Age of Ultron was a comic story, but it was tired and cliched back then, and it's gonna be cliched on the silver screen now. Genius creates artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence rebels. Humans must stop artificial intelligence from wiping out humanity. Battlestar Galactica, Terminator, that one episode of the X-Files of the computer. Jesus Christ, guys.
War Games.
There is nothing about this plot that speaks of originality.
The fucking Borg.
The Borg, yes.
The fucking Daleks,
Cybermen. God damn it, God. Exactly, Cybermen. Look, guys, I know everyone is high on Marvel's bone at the moment, and I'm a Marvel Comics fan, and I was excited as hell for this whole Marvel thing for a long time. And then Iron Man 3 happened, and it cooled my jets, and I've started looking at these things, and look, this plot, maybe they do it, maybe it's one of those cases where, it's a tired plot, but they did it all right here, so it's not a big deal. But objectively speaking, this movie sounds so generic, so uninspired. There's not going to be a thing that's original about it, considering one of the major new characters for this movie is going to be Quicksilver, who we already saw in X-Men Days of Futures Past, and who in Days of Futures Past was actually a pretty fun character to watch. So, if the Quicksilver for Age of Ultron is just sort of boring, then he'll be unoriginal and subpar.
Infinite options for failure.
Yeah, I just don't like this synopsis. It's boring. It's generic. It almost feels, honestly, like Joss Whedon or just Marvel in general are just so confident that they can do no wrong. They're like, whatever, we don't have to try. Yeah, sure, artificial intelligence wants to destroy humanity. Go for it. God,
that's right.
Damn it.
We just took a swipe at Joss Whedon. Get over it. We did it.
Alien 4 was terrible, and he wrote that piece of shit.
In his defense, from what I heard, he didn't even recognize the final product. He said that wasn't it. Or maybe he's just like, whoa, nah, I didn't do that shit. Or then again, maybe they just bastardize it, because I do know that fucking shit happens all the time in Hollywood. But that not being the point, will I go see this movie? Yeah, I will, because Avengers, and specifically Iron Man, specifically Robert Downey Jr.
Interestingly enough, the magazine cover that that was the unveiling of live-action Ultron shows Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in the Iron Man suit, which is interesting, considering that the whole point at the end of Iron Man 3 was that he wasn't going to be Iron Man anymore, except for Avengers 2. So...
yeah, my problem with this, and again, yeah, I'll go see it probably, but my problem with this has been my problem from the beginning. This is a very poor choice of a plot, of a villain, of a thing to do with the Avengers sequel. This is just...
Well, I'm convinced at this point that Avengers 2 is just here to waste time until Avengers 3 when they have Thanos' day out.
Maybe. And maybe this won't be like Loki 4, at least. Maybe we can say that for Avengers 2. Maybe at least it won't be Loki 4.
Yeah, I would honestly be happy if Loki was nowhere in this movie, because...
I mean, love Loki. Love him to death. He's awesome. But we've had enough. Let's not do that for a while.
In fact, I would like a Thor movie without Loki. Can we get a Thor movie where Thor is the main character in his own movie?
Shut the fuck up. What the hell are you talking about?
Can we get a movie where Thor... Can we get a movie called Thor where Thor is the main guy in the movie?
Wait. I thought it was just like a movie about sidekicks' rights. I thought Thor was a sidekick.
No, he's got his own comic book and everything.
Well, right, where he's Loki's sidekick, right?
No. Loki is actually a villain. And Thor is like his own, like, he's got his own secret identity, and he's his own superhero.
One of us is on drugs. I think it's you.
It's actually kind of funny, cause after, Loki became very popular with, the teenage girls and the young women, once he became super popular with that crowd, Marvel Comics had to try to figure something out, because you have to understand, the comics and the movies aren't really all that related. And they cast Tom Hiddleston, a younger guy, as Loki, which was part of his appeal. But in the comic books, Loki had been around, like, forever, and he was kind of like an older guy in the comic books. So in the comic books, they're like, well, how do we take advantage of all of this? So then they did some magical bullshit because, you know, Asgard. And then he got, like, transformed into a teenager again.
Because convenience. Yes.
Because...
ladies buy these books.
Because female fan service and Loki and... God, yeah, I like Loki, and I like Tom Hiddleston's depiction of Loki, but... You know, let's not have Loki for one Avengers movie. Let's have a Thor movie where Thor is the main guy in the Thor movie. And, like, I don't know. We can come back to Loki. He's not going anywhere. But let's just take a break with the Loki.
Right. Which, I don't think they are. I mean, at the end of Loki 3, I mean, he had killed...
you mean Thor 2?
What? Oh, right, yeah. At the end of Loki 3, he was, he evidently killed Odin and was...
That's cold, man. Like, adopted or not, that guy was your dad.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
And that's gonna be hard, like, for the Loki fangirls who are like, oh, he's just misunderstood. Well, okay, he tried to invade and enslave Earth, but he's just misunderstood. Oh, look, he redeemed himself in Thor 2. Oh, look, he killed his dad because he's an asshole.
Okay, yeah, no one who attempts to conquer and enslave Earth is quote-unquote misunderstood. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like saying, oh, well, what about all the good things Hitler did? I mean, come on.
Public transportation was very punctual in Germany between 1933 and 1945.
Right. I mean, you know, that's like saying, okay, you can try to take over the world as long as you're good looking enough, which I guess there is some truth to that these days. But, you know, but I mean, back to this plot here. That's
what Putin thinks. That's what all, like, the shirtless horseback riding's all about. He's like, people will bid for world domination if they think I am attractive.
Yeah, pretty much. But, I mean, there were so many other good villains, good plot lines they could have used for this movie.
And we're getting Ultron.
Right. And I know Mike and I have kind of harped on this before, and we're sorry. It keeps becoming relevant, which is why we keep harping on it. This is
the sin you will never escape, Marvel Studios.
Well, no, that was Iron Man 3.
Yes. Oh, no, I'm never letting them live that down.
I don't think this can be as bad as Iron Man 3. This movie's just going to be basically, I don't think it's going to be a bad movie. It's going to just simply languish in mediocrity.
No. This can be Iron Man 3 if it turns out Ultron is just being controlled by, Ian Anderson with, like, a joystick.
I don't know. That would actually be, in this particular case, that would actually be kind of more interesting, because then at least it would break the mold of your standard AI run amok movie.
And then it's just Ian Anderson bot?
Yeah, so I mean, then at that point, right, it's just, crazy old British guy with toys. It's, at least at that point, that kind of a twist applied to this movie would make it slightly original, maybe, kind of, in a way, conceivably. I don't think we're going to get that here, because it could actually help. God damn it.
Yeah, look, and on Iron Man 3, I'll say this again. This pisses me off, because fucking Ultron, who is, as we've been alluding to, a generic robot of generic motivation, gets a faithful live-action rendition. And then Iron Man, their most bankable property at the moment, God forbid, no, he doesn't get
at least till Ant-Man comes around.
Iron Man doesn't get a faithful live-action adaptation of his final fight with his most recognizable and persistent arch-nemesis. We can't we can't do a live-action adaptation of Iron Man versus the Mandarin, but, Ultron, we'll get right the fuck on that. Get Joss Whedon over here. We need his expert storytelling abilities to do fucking Skynet.
And to all of you rolling your eyes that we're on another Iron Man 3 rant, just calm your tits, because it's been a few months. So we're entitled to one. We've been good.
And Shane, I'm going to buy Iron Man 3, and I'm still going to send Shane Black the ashes of the DVD.
I would send him the ash. I would take them to him and make him eat them.
Yeah, I'll try to steer the ship back on tangent here. Age of Ultron, it's just looking so uninspired, and my first thought, again, as I said earlier, it's like not Hasbro, it's like Marvel saying, well, everything we release gets, a huge opening weekend, so we don't even have to try. We'll just throw some tired plot together with a robot, and then maybe Iron Man will say something witty, and that will be the movie, and it will make over, like, $1 billion because it's Avengers.
And they will, and it will. And then we'll get whatever for Avengers 3. I'm sure they'll find a way.
They introduced Thanos in the credits of Avengers 1. He's happening. And you know what? I don't even mind Thanos, because Thanos is sort of got this whole, like, dark outer space god thing, and they've been dropping hints about the Infinity Gauntlet throughout the live-action Marvel films. So if they do the Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos for Avengers 3, that'll be a cool story, and it'll be a cool story with, like, kind of cool effects, hopefully, and kind of a very interesting setting that takes advantage of the whole sci-fi aspect of comic books. Avengers 3, if they do what we're all thinking they're going to do, is going to be a good movie. And yeah, I'll gladly see that, and I'll gladly tell everyone how awesome it is. But, god damn it, just like WWE Battleground sucked ass because it was a filler pay-per-view to waste time between now and SummerSlam, so does Avengers 2 feel like a filler movie to waste time between now and when they eventually get around to doing Thanos.
I was sitting here, and I've got the image pulled up of Ultron from the Entertainment Weekly cover where Ultron is on there, and I actually, while you were talking just now, I've seen where it says down there, Terminator at 30, the oral history. How much you want to bet they just copied and pasted Like the bits about Ultron into the Terminator shit or vice versa. Like, they're like, yeah, if we do this, then we can put the Terminator thing in there, and we really only have to write one article.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
No,
I just now noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, god damn it. It's gonna be... It's Skynet. Ultron is Skynet. That is what he will be in this movie. Like, just watch it. He's gonna be like, humanity has a danger to itself, so to save humanity, I must destroy humanity. And I don't know why he's talking like a high-pitched Bane.
Because that god-awful voice is the only thing this movie really needs at this point.
Oh, man, I don't know. I'd love Bane. I think I'd love Bane in this movie, because, god damn it. I still defend Bane as a villain, because I thought his voice was kind of cool and off-putting.
It was off-putting, alright, made my fucking teeth itch.
Well, that was the point, that you didn't expect that voice out of that guy.
It's... Okay, any benefit from it being unexpected is lost when it's so grating you can't stand to listen to it. There's bad voices that, ooh, that's chilling. And there's bad voices that, oh my god, I can't stand to listen to that for 2.5 hours. Shut this fucking movie off.
Hey, I still maintain that the Nolan Batman films are some of the smartest superhero movies ever made. And I will maintain that they are the bar by which everything else is measured. And I include the first Iron Man movie, which I still love to this day, even if Iron Man 3 kind of ruined it in retrospect. But I still love Iron Man 1, and is still Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. To me, that's what a comic book movie should strive to be. I know Avengers and Marvel kind of have their own more lighthearted approach, and that's fine too. But the way that these plots to these movies have been trending, it's a train that's going to fly off the rails sooner rather than later, in my opinion.
I think it's actually already off the rails, and we're just kind of like in slow-mo. Is it just, lands in a park full of playing preschoolers?
You mean how, like, Thor 2 was, Thor played second fiddle in that, and then, I don't know, Winter Soldier was cool, even though it kind of had a butchered plot, and then Robert Redford wasn't the Red Skull, even though it made sense for him to be the Red Skull. I'm not even just talking about that. I'm talking about just kind of like what we've got coming for Marvel. I mean, we've got this mediocre pile of crap. We've got Ant-Man. We've got Guardians of the fucking Galaxy. I still don't know how... I see people all over, like, internet going, oh man, it looks so fun, and maybe it will look fun. I don't know. Again, as a longtime Marvel comic reader, Guardians of the Galaxy was like the bottom of the barrel. There was like one point, like years ago, I think even back in the 90s, either 90s or early 2000s, where Iron Man joined the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like Tony Stark got like a special space Iron Man suit, and then they just had him join Guardians of the Galaxy to actually get people to care about Guardians of the Galaxy, because they weren't buying the books anyway. And yes, there are Guardians of the Galaxy fans out there. And I'm really not trying to disparage you guys. I'm just saying, from my point of view, I just can't get over the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy as a movie is happening, because, really?
Yeah, and I mean, if you're one of those 6 or 7 people who have been, wanting this movie to happen and you're happy about it, great, awesome, good on you. But me personally, I maintain what I said a couple of months ago. This is Marvel throwing the spaghetti at the wall to see what will stick. At this point, they're just like, okay, let's see, how it seems like we can just make movies and they print money. So let's test this theory. Dude, fire up Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's roll.
Fire up that one franchise we have with the talking raccoon with the gun.
Yeah, let's make that a thing. And they're just seeing, what will stick, what they can get away with, how invulnerable is the Marvel movie machine.
I just really, I don't know. I kind of don't want Guardians of the Galaxy to do all that well, because if it is a success, then we're going to get more lame superhero movies, and then Avengers 3 will have Robert Downey Jr. talking to a CGI raccoon, and at that point, the whole thing will just jump the shark.
Yeah. And there's a possibility that's going to happen anyways. I mean, if, Thanos being the space guy and this, that, and the other, I mean, there's lots of crossover potential there for Avengers 3 with Guardians of the Galaxy. It's already there.
Unless it bombs and they decide that it's box office poison.
I don't think it's going to bomb. I think even if it does miserable for a Marvel movie is passable for anybody else.
Well, it's going to be interesting. What I find interesting about Guardians of the Galaxy is that everything else, even Iron Man, who a lot of people say, oh, Iron Man wasn't that well known. Iron Man has been a staple of Marvel since like the 60s, so yeah.
No, I can say that. I mean, I grew up not really reading any comic books at all, aside from like the occasional one-off Transformers comic book that I would get. And even I knew who Iron Man was. I knew who Spider-Man was.
So my point with that, though, is that when you do a Spider-Man movie or an Iron Man movie or a Captain America movie or a Thor movie, there is a there's a perception among people who aren't even comic book fans who say, oh, I know that Iron Man is a superhero and he has a metal suit that shoots things. Or I know that Captain America is the guy powered by America.
Yeah,
and,
America.
Spider-Man is the guy with the stupid spider costume. So, when you're trying to get people into the theaters to see a Spider-Man movie or a Hulk movie, you have your general non-comic book reading audience who is at least familiar with who these characters are. And that's going to go a long way getting them to, see the movie. With Guardians of the Galaxy, nobody outside of your comic book reading fan knows who they are. And so, even though you've really got to convince people, you've essentially got to build hype from the ground up, because you've always started with a bit of a boost when it comes to your more well-known superheroes. With Guardians of the Galaxy, you gotta start that ground level. You have to convince people who don't know who they are to see the movie.
I think they're relying on the fact that they're relying on the fact that people will see Marvel, at the beginning of the movie is their booster. They're relying on that as the only name recognition that they feel they'll need.
Well, if it works, and they can and they can make this into any sort of hit, then it pretty much opens up. They can make movies based on anyone, and that terrifies me, because who else is left? I don't know. Ant-Man's already a thing. Namor. Fuck Namor. He's an asshole.
Who the fuck is Namor?
He was Aquaman before Aquaman. He's Marvel's Aquaman,
God.
kind of. Only, whereas Aquaman is a good guy, Namor is sort of a gray area asshole. So
so it could be interesting.
It could be interesting, except Namor sucks because, like Aquaman, even though he might be a more interesting character, at the end of the day, they both still have the same limitation, which is you take him out of the fucking ocean and, like, what the fuck's Namor gonna do, with Ultron? Is he going to summon a giant blue whale in the middle of New York to fight Ultron?
Sure, why the fuck not?
So, that's the thing. That's the thing. Nobody... This has the potential... I've been saying this for a while. Marvel's got to be careful that the whole thing doesn't jump the shark, and it really feels like with each passing movie they get more and more bold, and the more bold you get, this is just the fact of the matter, the more risks you take, eventually it's all gonna come crashing down, and then I'll be left, reminiscing about that one time when superhero movies didn't suck, when we had Iron Man, when we had the first Iron Man movie and The Dark Knight, and I was, eagerly awaiting for the Mandarin's live action appearance because they hinted at him in Iron Man. It's gonna be awesome.
Yep. And now evidently Marvel is, getting into the TV show thing.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, because, we've got, DC doing their Gotham CSI deal. Now we've got...
Marvel's already been doing the TV thing. They've been doing...
they got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which tied in with Captain America, Winter Soldier, with the whole Hydra infiltration thing. So there's Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but yes, they are expanding their TV properties. Yeah.
Looks like we've got Daredevil being a thing here soon.
On Netflix, correct?
Yeah, it's going to be a Netflix production, which, they seem to do pretty good shows. I've watched House of Cards, and I've heard people say good things about Orange is the New Black, though I personally can't be arsed to care about a bunch of women in prison.
Didn't they used to make porn movies out of that?
I was just about saying, unless it's one of those kind of women in prison movies, if you know what I mean. But, we've got, Marvel Studios collaborating with Netflix, and they're going to be doing a Daredevil series.
Daredevil's kind of Daredevil series has the opposite problem Guardians of the Galaxy movie has, because Guardians of the Galaxy has to build audience anticipation up from scratch. Any Daredevil project, be it a TV show or a movie, you're not starting from scratch. You're trying to rebuild a lot of burnt bridges from that last one.
Yeah.
Last Ben Affleck outing.
Yeah, but I mean, Ben Affleck's Batman, so he's got to be good, right?
Oh, God. That Daredevil movie. I liked the Kingpin in it. That's the best thing I'll say is that I liked Kingpin in the Daredevil movie.
Most of my memory about that Daredevil movie, I've been successful at drinking away. I just remember it was kind of like Star Trek Insurrection to me. It was there, it was a thing, and a few minutes after I watched it, I kind of forgot all about it. Mm-hmm. I know it was Ben Affleck. I remember, and this was my first exposure to Daredevil, period. Not being, the big comic book aficionado.
In the comic books, Daredevil has his moments, but all in all, I don't really care, because... I don't know, Daredevil is just sort of overly emo between Frank Miller's overly dramatic writing style that has sort of stuck with the character for a long time. There's the whole I'm blind pathos that is always, resurrected anytime they need to pull in the feels. And then there's, I don't know, I think his secret identity's been publicly revealed like 10 times by now. Like, Daredevil, Daredevil is just sad, and you don't want to root for him. You just kind of want to feel sorry for him.
Yeah, after kind of, getting the gist of the character and everything, I couldn't help but just sitting there thinking, why is this a thing? And I just really found myself seeing no motivation to even attempt to give fucks. This upcoming series is supposed to be, let me get the exact quotation here. You're gonna love this. Gritty 1970s New York style setting.
Now, okay, does that mean it's gonna be set in 1970s New York, or is this gonna be 1970s New York style? Because those are two different things.
I'm taking it based on what I've read here. Mm-hmm. I think it's just going to be set in the 70s style, not in the actual 70s. Mm-hmm. The quote is, "We're going for a very gritty 1970s New York feel for the Daredevil show. We love the idea of beauty and the decay of the city, and Hell's Kitchen being a place that is both horrible and beautiful at the same time. That's why Matt Murdock loves it so much and wants to protect it." So that's the blurb there.
How does Matt Murdock know it's beautiful? Because he's fucking blind. Send your hate mail too.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of beauty are we talking about? I mean, does he just walk outside and he smells the crime? He's like, home. I mean, Yeah, I guess no one informed them that their character was blind and wouldn't be able to notice this movie or notice these settings before they made their little sound blurb there.
I mean, he wasn't always blind. Like, he was blinded in an accident involving toxic waste.
So, Iron Man 3? Hi-oh!
But yeah, no, he was blinded in an accident involving toxic waste because, of course, having toxic waste thrown in your eyes would give you superpowers. And, but, you know, he hasn't been able to see since he was a kid. So how does he know that things are beautiful? I don't know. And then, of course, there's the fact. Now, I want to know what costume they're going with, because the Daredevil movie went with the very traditional red Daredevil costume. But Daredevil's original costume was actually used a lot of yellow, and I've sent Jack the link.
Based on the picture I'm seeing here, which I'll link to you momentarily, oh god, is he...
See, I always thought the yellow Daredevil costume made sense because he's blind.
Because he can't fucking see, so he has no idea what he's wearing.
Yeah, so like he just shows up at like the Avengers, headquarters. Just like, hi guys, I'm Daredevil. Like, what are you wearing? I don't know. And he's just wearing like this yellow jumpsuit with a giant D on the front.
Yeah.
Like, I know, I'm sorry, I don't want to be an asshole. But the joke's right there, guys. Let me have this one. Yellow costume. You can't see.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the only thing that could possibly make sense. I mean, I guess, you know.
Like, how does he know that he looks bad? Like, how did he know to pick out the badass red costume that he's got rocking? He'd have to let someone in on it, right? Like, he'd have to say, hey, I'm making a superhero costume. I'm entrusting you with color coordination. Like...
Yeah.
And as far as I know, not very many people know his costume, know who he is, and... like, Elektra he trusts, but I'm pretty sure he already had the costume when he met Elektra. I'm just curious how Daredevil's costume came about, because to me, just him being blind and making it himself, the yellow costume makes so much sense in that respect.
Why are you wearing a potato sack? I am Daredevil!
Like, he doesn't know! Like, come on! Oh, but yeah, Daredevil's got a lot of work ahead of it, because that movie with Ben Affleck sucked. So, we'll see how that goes. Maybe they do a House of Cards crossover. And
oh god, that could be, you know,
President Underwood teams up with Daredevil. In the Kevin Spacey's head-shaped White House.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's one of those things, I just kinda... A lot of this stuff is just starting to seem kind of pointless that they're doing now. I mean, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna... I don't see enough here for me to just be like, oh, well, this show's gonna suck. I mean, you know, from what I hear, Netflix produces pretty good series. House of Cards is real good. So, you know, if that's the caliber of quality that they want to go for, then I'm sure it'll have merit. I just also kind of question the choices, you know, for some of these. I guess is my main thing. Mm-hmm. But hey, it may be interesting. It might be interesting. I mean, it's... At least they're not doing the fucking stupid ass, you know, CSI Gotham route with it, where at least there's an actual hero in this movie.
I don't know. I think Gotham is supposed to be about Jim Gordon more than Batman.
Yeah, and who gives a fuck?
I don't know. I thought Gary Oldman did a pretty good job.
Well, yeah, but this isn't Gary Oldman now, is it?
No, and it should be. But then again, it's obvious that, you know, any future Batman project from DC is not going to be tied to the Nolan films, because we can't be attached to quality going forward.
Fuck quality.
Ben Affleck is Batman. Full steam ahead.
It's just a word in the fucking dictionary.
Yeah. Oh, well. We're gonna wrap things up with some WoW discussion here. World of Warcraft, as it were.
Yeah. We got grass, motherfucker. Grass.
Grass!
Grass. I like to eat it because it helps me poop. Grass.
As I play World of Warcraft, Jack, and I'm playing in the game, and I think of things that need to be improved, things that cannot wait.
I need grass that moves when you walk through it.
3 things come to mind that I think are imperative. 1, the Alliance needs to reclaim Gilneas.
Yes.
2, the Alliance needs to push the Scourge and the Forsaken out of Northern Lordaeron.
Yes. Will never happen, but yes.
3, perhaps most important, and the thing that should take precedence over everything else, I want realistic grass physics.
Well, guess what, sir? Blizzard heard your cry in the dark, and they have answered it with grass physics.
Oh!
Now the grass will move when you walk through it, just like you're wading through your own overgrown yard at home, waiting and praying that a copperhead doesn't bite you.
Honestly, I've never, good on them, I guess, but...
It's one of those things I guess they're throwing into... again, we've had this discussion to an extent before where, WoW is dated and they're doing as much as they can to kind of bring it up to snuff with modern expectations, and this is one of those things. They're adding grass physics, where when you run through it, and they've done this in the old world too, it's not just going to be in Draenor, where when you run through it, the grass will move and
that's good, because I don't want to be going from Draenor to the old world and be like,
what the fuck, man?
Where's my grass? Where's my fucking grass physics, bro?
Right. Yeah, man.
Metzen, you ass.
Yeah, you promised me moving grass and you didn't deliver. And now this expansion is just a piece of shit, and I'm going to unsubscribe.
I've got to ask the important question here. Does this lead to a whole slew of just people wasting time in-game running through grass? Are we going to log in to, Stormwind and then go out in front of the city gates and there's just gonna be 50 fucking people with their characters just running through the grass. Just running through the grass like idiots. Look at it move, guys!
I think the answer to that question depends on the quality of one's video card. If video cards are sufficiently powered to allow the individual to do it, and they know that it's there, I'm sure there will be, just for lulz, people running out just to see the fucking grass.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I heard this news, I said, I need to get a new fucking computer. I need to upgrade my entire system, because there's no way I'm experiencing Draenor without the grass.
No, you got to have the full WoW experience, and you can't have that without the grass that's doing the movie thing as you walk through it. I don't care how compelling and interesting the new talents are and how engaging the new mechanics are, unless the grass is moving as you're running away from your boss fights, then, it's just all for naught.
As you run away from the guy trying to gank you.
Right, exactly. You can take time now to appreciate the dynamic environment as it moves and shit. So yeah, that's a thing. I
hope they put it on the back of the box.
That would be awesome.
Draenor in the store, and it's in huge letter, in big green letters on the back of the box. Realistic grass physics!
Grass physics! New character models! Buy it the fuck now!
Yes, we do actually have new character models, new NPC character models, actually. It appears as if they are finally giving the bird people of Draenor, who we encountered in Outland in the Burning Crusade. They're obviously coming back. What are they called again?
I believe that it's either the Arkoa or the Arakoa.
Arakoa,
yeah.
That's it.
And the thing was, in Outland and in Burning Crusade, they were tainted. And by that I mean they had been corrupted by all the shit that went down. It has nothing to do with any kind of genital contact. But yeah, they had been tainted by all the shit that went down in Outland,
and they were kind
Draenor,
of refugees in Draenor.
Yeah, they were refugees. They they hung around in Terrakar Forest.
In the lower city of Shatra, which was kind of like the slums.
Right, and they were really annoying as you would walk through the lower city of Shatrath because, they would touch you and they would grease up your epics with, their poverty. And it was really annoying.
Their poverty and their bird germs.
Right, yeah, and it would, just goop up your gear, man, and your nice shiny epics, and then you've got these poor birds that are touching it, and you're like, ew, I don't want your avian flu, what the fuck ever, go away. Here, have some seed and run away.
Seed.
And just throw a fucking fistful of seed. Oh God, my eye, as the bird doubles over in pain. Ha ha, don't stain my epics, runs away.
Yeah, so the bird...
I just needed to feed my family.
So the bird people are back, and they've got new character models, and I actually really like it, because here's the thing. The character models originally kind of sucked.
Well, I mean, yeah, they did.
Now, I don't know, I'm actually really digging new character models for the bird people.
Yeah, they look pretty good. I mean, most of the new character models that are being, brought in for Draenor, they're very good quality. Lots of polygons, lots of textures to them. They all look pretty good. I mean, a lot of people now. There has been a lot of complaining regarding the new actual player models that are coming out with, because there seems to be very little to no facial variation. You can dress them up differently. You can, have their beards be different or their
hairstyles.
Their hair, their accoutrements can be different basically. But the basic face that's underneath it is pretty much seems to remain the same. And people have been very upset about that. And the funny thing is, Blizzard responded to this as, what? They didn't fucking realize that this was a problem.
Yeah.
They did not even comprehend. Oh my God, we only made one fucking face.
For everyone.
Right. And, there's one human face, there's one orc face, one per gender basically, for each race. And they seem to not understand that this would be a problem. They seemed very surprised. And there was this one Twitter exchange, between some people on the Twitch shitters and Chris Robinson, who is one of their main art directors. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing about this same face bullshit, man? We don't like this. And, he said, this is something that we're working to address as quickly as possible. And someone else and Chris Robinson, he's like, I wanted to get up an art craft, which is their segment they do about their art changes that they're doing for Draenor, about some of the things we're doing on this, but I tore a tendon in my finger and it's making kind of difficult. And someone's like, when are you going to fix it? The man just said he fucking wounded himself. And fix now! But
he's my leg's in a cast. I can't move.
Yeah, I'm suffering from full body paralysis. Fix my pixels. It's just kind of funny though that Blizzard seem to have reacted to this with in a manner that would indicate that they did not foresee this being a problem.
Mm-hmm.
At no point during the design process for these new character models for the players did anyone ever say, hey, maybe we should do more than one face. That was never even a consideration. And they go on about, how much time and care that they put into, creating these new player models. And I don't doubt that they did that. I don't doubt that at all. But it's almost like they lost the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
Like, they got so caught up on making faithful interpretations, which, again, these things are subjective. Some people say they are, some say they're not.
I think they're faithful to the art style of the game.
I've been pretty impressed with the majority of them, and the ones I've been less than impressed with, I really haven't been arsed to care because I don't play those races. So I don't care. Now the human male face looked kinda bulldoggy. I thought.
He'll have a beard anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, I mean, mine usually has like the beard and shit, or at least some nice sexy mutton chops going on. So, that'll be.
Mutton chops.
What?
You and the mutton chops. It's always the mutton chops.
Oh, they're classy.
Your character in Star Trek Online had mutton chops.
No, kinda, yeah. Fuck it. Okay, I have splotchy facial hair. I can't do it in real life. No, I'm joking. So, whatever, but it just really amazes me just that Blizzard seemed to be kind of taken aback. Like, I can just see all these hours of development spent in, creating and fleshing out these new models. And then, at no point did even an intern in the back bother to say, guys, maybe we should make more than one face. Shut up, Todd! Shoe flies across the room.
Oh.
Shut the fuck up. It's kind of funny, but, I guess it's something that, will either be fixed by beta, or by release, or not. And then, for a future patch. I mean, they'll address it. It's just, calm your tits, keep your panties out of a bunch, and let's just play the fucking game they give us until they get it sorted. And they will. It'll just take a while because, well, it's fucking Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like a lot of the new models, even for just some of the. Now, Thrall has a new model as well, of course, because fucking Thrall, where he's still wearing like the fucking grunge coat.
His bathrobe that he's been wearing since Cataclysm.
Yeah, but it looks a bit cleaner now, so maybe Agra knocked him out one night and went and washed it for him.
But yeah,
or just bitched at him until he washed it, one of the two.
But he's got his classic war chief armor underneath it. So
yeah, which looks good. I mean, it's kind of a cool. The way they've got the robe now, it actually kind of looks like a trench coat a little bit,
mm-hmm.
and I think it actually looks kind of cool, at least as cool as Thrall can be. Mm-hmm. He's having adventures.
I'm sure he is.
Thank you, friend.
Don't talk to me.
Whoa, yeah, no, my reasons for not wanting the world destroyed are entirely my own. So, yeah, if you want to just go ahead and fuck off, that'd be great. Thank you, friend. Just give me my fucking 2 gold and let me get the fuck out of here. And by the way, you should have more money than this.
Exactly. Also, new loading screens.
Oh, what, for WoW?
Yes, more new loading screens for WoW. It's just underneath the Thrall character model on MMO Champions.
You're going to make me fucking look for it, aren't you?
It's actually pretty interesting. A lot of these are just loading screens for dungeons or raids, but we get 3 that I'm interested in. There's the one that looks like
okay. Yeah, I see them. It
looks like your standard Draenor loading screen. I suspect this is what you'll see when you go through the Dark Portal.
Right, yeah. The one with all the orcs sitting there like there's some kind of fucking 70s acid metal band.
Yeah. And then we've got the 2 for the 2 main continents in the old world. And what's interesting here is that they seem to have updated the character art.
Yeah. Looks badass, actually. Yeah. Look at fucking Greymane looking all non-generic and shit.
Well, he really was generic because in the current loading screen that they use for Pandaria, they just use a generic piece of Worgen artwork for Greymane.
Yeah, they just got a fucking, Worgen there. Like, hi, this is a Worgen. They're so playable now.
No. They actually put Greymane in it, which is cool. And then on the Kalimdor one, we've got Thrall there. Although it seems to be that they're using Thrall's Cataclysm picture there.
And they've got Ren. Man, he's looking fucking buff, and he's like sitting there with his like fists clenched in a broad stance. Kamehameha. You know.
Yeah, no, Rin looks badass. Another thing on the calendar side. Vaylin is still there. Is still acknowledged as the Draenei leader.
Not for long.
But then they finally swapped out that generic goblin picture for a proper Gallywix model.
Yeah. Looks like they still got the same art for fuck, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Tyrande? Tyrande. I'm sorry. I just totally blew a fucking blank on her name.
Yeah, Tyrande.
Yeah, for Tyrande. It looks like the same art for her, which is fine because she's kind of sexy. Bane getting some pretty cool artwork. Looks like he's blowing his horn. His war horn. Hey, oh God. This is going to get complaints. Look at what Bane's got on his head. That's going to get some complaints.
What? The war bonnet?
Yeah, it looks basically like a Native American headdress.
I don't know.
No, you underestimate the internet's ability to bitch. People are going to complain about that shit.
I don't know. It's been pretty well established that the Tauren are basically Native Americans for a while, so...
Yeah, I mean...
I don't know.
You underestimate the righteous indignance of the professionally offended, sir. I mean, it's one thing for it to be implied and generally understood. It's another thing for the artwork to depict something as blatantly Native American as, you know, the headdress, which for Native Americans is a real big deal. Like, that's like their rank, their insignia. It's akin to kind of the same sort of distaste it would be to wear an actual, military uniform that's not yours, that you did nothing to earn. That kind of a attachment to it. At least a few people will complain. Me personally, I don't give a rat's ass. I mean, it's a fictional world, it's a fictional environment, and I don't see anything to get, all out of sorts about. It's meant for fun. Just ignore it and go on. But there will be people who will get pissed about it.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's pretty much universally understood that the Tauren are Native Americans.
Now, what's kind of funny here, you got Vol'jin, and he looks kind of badass.
They had to give him new artwork. I mean, he's the war chief of the Horde now, I guess.
Right, but then right above him, mind you, you got Thrall.
And of course, Thrall is, because, it doesn't matter if Vol'jin's the war chief, it will have more Thrall in the thing, because he's Thrall. Yeah. No, I don't know.
Let me go back and look at the Alliance one again, because I don't think they have... Yeah, now what's interesting for the Alliance loading screen is they don't have Moira. They don't have her on here. They have, I guess, a member of the Throne of the Three Hammers.
I think that's what it's Bronzebeard. I think that's Bronzebeard.
Yeah, but Moira is technically...
No. Technically, it's
that's right. It's a triumvirate. Yeah,
it's a three-way power thing. So as long as they just get one of the three hammers on there, it's good.
They got Mechatork on there looking kind of, as badass as a gnome can look.
Yeah, no, he got new artwork too. I'm surprised how much revision they didn't just slap the Warlords of Draenor logo over the Pandaria loading screen, which is kind of what they did with Cataclysm. Like, the Pandaria loading screens are just the Cataclysm loading screens with the new logo on it.
Maybe I'm looking at Sylvanas' art wrong, but it looks less like an action pose to me and more like she's being arrested.
That's, let me pull that up again. Champions, go!
She's got like this look of what appears to be shock on her face, and her arms are up in the air, which I guess is maybe meant to accentuate the boobage. but most of the boobage is kind of obscured by the dwarf's head. So, and it's really not all that prevalent. So it's not even really flashing the boobage all that much. And it just looks like she's being arrested to me. I don't know.
Yeah. But then we've got, Ultron.
That's his name. I was going to mention him, but I couldn't remember his fucking name.
Ultron, the blood elf. He's Regent, technically, is his title. He's Regent.
You know, honestly, that was kind of an unexpected thing that I got out of Pandaria, was in following this whole, new war chief storyline. I actually developed a pretty healthy respect for that fucking Belf. I mean, he's fucking cool.
Yeah, no, he's got an eye patch. He's badass.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an eye patch, you gotta be a fucking badass. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, and he was actually ready to rejoin the Alliance until Jaina fucked things up, because even when she does the right thing, she does them in a way that fuck things up.
Yeah. But yeah, so, new stuff for WoW. I mean, more stuff there's a lot of things being, revealed about Warlords of Draenor now for a while. It's just that, a lot of it, me and Mike just don't see is important enough to mention, because whenever there's a beta, there's going to be a lot of new information being revealed. There's going to be a lot
of new information, and, I don't think anyone wants to listen us go over new armor set designs.
Right, exactly. I mean, we try to walk this line with WoW between being informative and interesting and, not wanting to become fucking banal about it. It's... we don't want to talk about class mechanics too much. Righteous Fury now does what? Well, that's a threat talent, but X ability does 0.2% more damage, up from 0.1%. We don't want to get into that fucking shit.
All I know is that the proper way to complain about mechanics is to bitch about the changes they're making to your class before you've actually played them.
Right, because really the proper way to World of Warcraft is
you're gonna World of Warcraft like a pro.
Right, and here's a pretty handy guide for anyone who plays the game or would potentially like to play the game. Step 1. Complain at the earliest opportunity when the changes are the most vague. This enables you to get your foot in the door earlier. And cement your opinion as a forefront of the community and as a pillar of common sense.
Now you might think, well, if I complain while the changes are vague, wouldn't that mean that my complaint will be contradicted later on? No, sir.
False. This is false. What it does instead, it actually presents you as one of the cooler heads, open to constructive debate, and a person who cares about their class very passionately. And you can further emphasize this by using words such as retards and fuck you and ruining the game. And if you do these things, you will win the respect of both the developers and your peers, because then you are you're the forefront of the community. You are showing that you care, and by complaining about these changes before they're finalized.
If you really want to make an impact, use a gay slur and direct it at the Blizzard developers.
Yes. The Blizzard developers, it's a little known fact, but they actually get off on being called derogatory homosexual slurs. So, for example, all the devs are faggots, they're ruining my game. This will win you points.
And they'll be sure to take your complaints seriously.
Yes, they will. And then step 2, if your complaints aren't heard, complain more. Open up a few more threads, even if it's about the same topic. It's okay, because if there's more venues open for discussion, more people can realize the importance of this topic instead of doing something stupid like having everyone's thoughts in one thread where the developers can just go and read them all in one place. That's amateur hour. Fuck that. Step 3, complain on multiple forums. If no one's taking you seriously on the WoW forums, head over to MMO Champion. Complain there. The community's very open and civilized, and they want to hear your feedback.
Indeed. And again, make sure that you complain as early as possible. I mean, actually playing the class with the new changes isn't necessary to form an opinion.
No, in fact, it's contradictory to it, because if you play the class, that shows that you are Blizzard's bitch.
You are a sheeple?
You're a sheeple, and you're only complaining now that the class is finalized, and of course it's a problem now. No, you've got to show that you were smart enough and have the insight to realize this is a problem before it's even a fucking problem. Preferably pre-alpha patch notes are the best to complain about.
Yeah.
And then, final step, if the changes are reverted, it's not because it's a natural part of the beta process. No. It's not because Blizzard's tested this internally and discovered it didn't work, or maybe just changed their mind because it doesn't work with something else they had in mind. No. Because once changes are announced pre-alpha, they're there. They're not going anywhere. This shit is not subject to change. It's final. So if they change their mind, you get the credit because it was your complaining, your thoughtful insight that caused this reversal.
When you called Chris Metzen a cocksucking faggot, that was the comment that spurred the development team to take off those extra seconds on Consecrate's cooldown.
Yes. And then and at that point, once you've gotten your way, you and the dozens of new friends that I'm sure you've made can pat yourselves on the back and go have a beer.
Mm-hmm.
You are welcome, MMO playing community, for this guy, because this just doesn't just work for WoW. You can do this with any game, any MMO ever. It will work, guaranteed, or the money you just paid me to tell you this will be refunded.
And with that, we're going to have to close episode 24 of Basically a Geek Show out. You can send us an email at basicallyageekshow@gmail.com, on Twitter @ageekshow, on iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, on the Basically a Sports Show website, basicallyasportshow.com, of course on YouTube as well. And you can check us out on our threads at forum.taijutsu.org, on tfw2005.com, and, of course, our home base, the Basically a Sports Show thread on sportslogos.net. Just click the forum button, and that'll take you right there. So, for Jack, this is Mike, signing off episode 24.
Good night, everybody.
Please hang up and try again.